Puerto Rican kid, bald head, loves snakes, loves Blizzy, Sergio Chacon.
Yeah. What up, Pa?
Peace. Welcome to the DBS podcast. It's your boy Sergio Chacon, aka Blizzy Chacon. That shit whack. I mean, it's always gonna be Dirtbag Shit podcast. The DBS podcast. Peace and welcome to the DBS podcast. It's your boy Sergio Chacon in the mix. We took a little week off. Hope you guys didn't miss me too much, but we're back in effect. I'm with comedian and ultra marathon runner Dan Lamorte. What's good, Daddy-O?
Yeah.
All right.
I like that I get a runner intro now, too.
Yeah, I got to give you the runner intro, man.
Yeah.
I was super impressed when I learned that you do ultra marathons.
Yeah, it's an my favorite, though, is like when the host of a show will be like, your next comedian, he runs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what the crowd wants. That's
Yeah.
a real endorsement for my comedic skill.
Dogs, I wouldn't do that to you. We'll leave running
when you're
out
on
the
stage,
mix.
like when it's on a podcast, I love it because I love talking about running. I think every runner does.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
that thing that you got to do.
But it's tough to be brought up on stage with the shit that you do. You're passionate about, but it's on the side.
Yeah, like they don't care. It's like I ran on Fallon, you know? It's
Yeah, dogs. I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, I've been brought up to this. I'm not sure if you know I'm a big animal lover.
Okay.
Please welcome to the stage. He's very funny. He has a bunch of snakes. Sergio Chacon. Yo, more than I care to admit that shit's happened to me.
More than once someone has brought me up
Yes,
for the snakes.
different host.
Wow.
I guess it's so fascinating to people that they're like, yeah, we got to throw the fact that he owns snakes. And snakes are
fascinating.
jarring to people.
Absolutely. I had my first snake experience running a few months ago, like training for my last race because I would train on the trails in New Jersey, and I like literally had this moment where I was running and I thought in my head like, dude, it'd be crazy if you saw a snake. And then maybe 10 steps later there was a snake.
What kind of snake was it?
I think it was a poison. New Jersey has two poisonous snakes. It was I want to say they call it a timber rattlesnake.
Oh, wow. That's dope.
Yeah, it was fright. You have that moment where you're like, because you're like miles into the woods, and you're like, if this bit me, I'd have no idea what to do.
Now, are these, when you do these ultra marathons, are they like on unbeaten paths or there's a path?
There's a path. I mean, it's in the woods usually, but there's like a path that's been made through the years.
Okay.
And like trails, basically.
Because that could be dangerous, right? If you're just running.
Fall all the time. I fall constantly. I'm so hurt.
I wish there was like
speak.
cameras like pinned into the trees. There's like a compilation of you just falling. Oh!
If they had cameras like on those trails, it'd be great. I'd put it in the Instagram reels every day. I'd be falling all the time.
Right, then maybe it'd be appropriate to bring you up to his videos of him falling in the forest have went viral. He's an ultra marathon runner. Give it up for his slip and falls. Dan Lamorte.
That'd be perfect.
Oh man,
Yeah, I
that's
fall
awesome.
because it's one of those things like if you start getting in your head that you think you're going to fall, you fall. It happens every time. Or I've had ones where I've been a dick to another runner. It's like if I see a runner running past me and I judge them in my head, I fall immediately. It's like
That's
the
hilarious.
universe
I picture
tripping
that you
me.
have like a little the water vest, but you put oil in there, so you press the button, and then it's slipping behind you. You're like,
Yeah, like a Mario Kart running vest. I love
Right.
those vests. I feel so cool when I run with them.
yeah. So what do you have? Water and just water.
Sometimes I like the handheld more. So like they make these handheld bottles that wrap around your wrist. So I
Okay.
just hold that and usually have like a little pouch you can put your cell phone in. If I have the vest, that means I'm doing like a long trainer run. I'll pack some food in there too.
Okay, dope. So, but I want to start from the beginning.
Yeah.
What inspired? So you told me, and I found it looking at your stature, if I may. You told me that you weigh up to 300 pounds.
Yeah, I was in the 350s when this whole thing kind of started.
Wow. And what inspired the change? So you were like a heavy set kid.
Always struggled with my weight. Like growing up, it was always fluctuating. And then I was a pretty good baseball player. And like sophomore year of high school is when it became apparent like this was something I'd be able to get money for in college. So take it serious. So you get on like a good team, you go around. It's like every coach that would come to see me from these colleges would be like, "You're good, but you're fat." Like, they were always very
Hey, yo,
honest.
yeah, I love that because
Yeah.
I was gonna say fat, but I was like, let me be politically correct and say heavy set. You
They
saw how I
try to
changed.
get politically correct. So, like, there would be, like, this scouting agency called Perfect Game. That's, like, the big amateur baseball thing. You would go to their showcases. Scouts would write reports about you, put them online. There's
Make sure
reports of me online still where it'll be like, Lamorte is a 2013 graduate. He has a thick frame.
That's so funny.
With room to fill out. They would be like, and like these scouts would write this about teenage dudes. But so like I
Wow.
lost weight my junior and senior year of high school. My school built a brand new weight room. So I got like this kick in my head where I would just wake up at 4 in the morning. I'd drive to school early, get in the lift before school, shower, and then just start my day. And that was on top of baseball practice and training at night, which would usually be 2 separate training sessions.
So it was almost like someone who you just like had enough and you just started training on your own. It wasn't
training on my own. So like I knew I had it in me, and then basically comedy starts. So I get a scholarship to play in college, blow out my arm opening day, like not even exaggerating. True freshman opening day down in South Carolina, blow out my arm. Just tear it in half, elbow.
How so? Throwing a pitch?
Change up in the dirt. Yeah, I'll never forget it. Threw the change up in the dirt. The second the ball released from my hand, I heard my elbow just snap. Like, it's a noise you don't forget. It's a loud pop. It just pops out loud. I called the catcher out, who was my buddy, who was my roommate. I was like, dude, just so you know, my elbow's shot, but let's try to get through this. And I stayed in for like 3 innings, and that was the last time I've ever been on a mound.
God damn.
Yeah, last time. And then that's kind of how I started stand-up. And in those years, I mean, because I went from being like, oh, I need to be in shape for baseball to now it didn't matter because I'm a 19-year-old on the road doing comedy, not going to eat healthy. So I gained weight, so much weight. When I started comedy, I probably weighed around 200 pounds. And
okay, so you were already big. Then you decided I'm gonna make the change for baseball.
I get down to about 190.
So
at
these
my
are like
playing
just
weight.
like bumps in the road, you know.
A lot of bumps.
You know what's interesting about baseball? That it lends itself to people who are thick.
Absolutely.
Remember Sid Fernandez, the relief pitcher?
Bartolo Colon.
Yeah, they had his big hips. They would just lay down.
Yeah.
And then they would come in for like 2 innings, throw heat.
That was like the old school. If you look at like old baseball, they were like men's men. They were just like smoking
thighs,
cigars, eating burgers and hot dogs. Like they didn't care about athleticism. Looking back, it's all a mistake. They should have, but it was like always big dudes.
Yeah.
And as a pitcher, especially, which is what I was, it didn't necessarily matter if you were fat. But like a lot of my coaches for pitching training, running was big. It's like I was a fuck up, so if you got in trouble, you'd be punished with running. So
you were naughty. You were a naughty ball player.
Bad kid in high school.
Like Lenny Dykstra.
Yeah.
This naughty.
I was always fucking with people. I was always getting in trouble in school. So, like, that would always make you run. But then pitching coaches would make you run for, like, the lactic acid to get it out of your body.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I just had this inclination to like running through, like, that self-torture kind of thing because that's what it is.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, it is that.
Yeah.
People, you know, I've ran 2 marathons, and people, like my wife would tell me when I'm like suffering from an injury, why are you doing this to yourself? Like, you don't understand.
Yeah.
This is bad. And I do the fucking corny ass.
I tell people I have so many stock lines where I'm like, suffering is grace, or suffering is the sandpaper that awakens the mind. All these little things I've picked up through the years, just because like people get on me for as far as I run. Like my girlfriend especially will be like, you're breaking your body, or why are you doing this? And I'm like, because you won't. No one understands.
No one understands.
And you can't even put it into words. It's like when you get into this zone of like going from being this guy who was 350 pounds, like my life was in the extreme there. I took the shoelaces out of my shoes because I couldn't bend down to tie them. My back was killing me every day.
And if you did tie your shoes, it was like sideways.
Yeah,
right?
My shoes were never tied straight because I couldn't get straight. Because like that gut is just in the way. It blocks everything. It's like
when you get out of cars, you feel the jiggle and go, ugh.
Getting in and out of cars was the worst because I had like a little Hyundai Elantra. So like I remember having to like push myself up, like the noises you make getting out. Like it's so crazy for me to even think back to that. You're just you're brutal to be around. Like
Did you find that your stand up was different when you were like heavy? Were you just like
so
like angry on stage?
I do have a lot of views about that where like my stand-up was different because that's not who I was. Like, I don't really think I was meant to be a 350-pound dude, so it was kind of like going up there and doing a character almost.
Interesting.
But, like, I don't feel like I was really myself. But on the flip side, you get more leniency from crowds when you're heavier. So, like, I like doing material that, you know, not that it's offensive. I never go up there to try to be offensive, but I'm not really – I like to do things. Like, I have, like, a 3-minute chunk on a little person from New Jersey right now who pumps gas. It's one of my favorite bits. And crowds, I need to warm them up a little bit. Like when you're heavy, they give you a little more leeway. When you don't look as jolly, they're like, who is this guy? Why should I let him be like this?
Talking about the little people.
Yeah.
That's so funny and so true. And there's acts out there, and they usually knew that use that all the way through. It's the whole thing.
Just
I'm
fat,
heavy, you know.
Well, it came to a point where like I was telling because like when you get that big that quickly, it leads to a lot of health problems. And I had a lot of people close to me sitting me down like fat interventions, you know, being like, you gotta change. And I would always tell them, no, it's good for comedy. It's good for comedy to be this fat. I'm a fat comic. And then one time I remember I forced myself to write out my whole hour at that point. And there was maybe 2 fat jokes in it. So I was like, you're justifying being 350 pounds for 2 bits. So I was like, you got to make – so then I was like, I'm going to get the surgery. There was like this new surgery called Obalon where you swallow like 3 different balloons.
Oh, wow. So it fills up your stomach.
Something like that. You swallow a balloon, they fill it up. So I was going to get that. And then my old man was kind of like, why don't you, he was like, you were a college athlete 4 years ago. He's like, why don't you try to do this one last time? He's like, you used to get up at 4 a.m. to go to the gym to lift in high school. He's like, you have that in you. So why don't you try it one last time? So then that was kind of, that jostled it up. And then there was like a long string of things that led to the weight loss. There's got to be a lot of dominoes that fall for you to like make that change. Like there's got to be a lot of downfalls. So many people ask me like, what's your advice to help people lose weight? I'm like, hit rock bottom hard.
Yeah.
Hit it. Eat alone at a Golden Corral. I think that'll.
Yo, Golden Corral is a dirtbag spot. Loaded with sodium.
Dirtbag spot. Like that's the type of place where you meet someone who works at Golden Corral and they'll like take you off to the side and they're like, don't eat it, Golden Corral. I love when people do that.
My in-laws love it.
People love that.
Yeah, I mean, this is loaded with soda. Every time I leave there, I'm just like puffy.
Your face sweats like grease, kind of.
Yeah, and if you like, you sleep face down that night, like the sheet creases last.
Absolutely, yeah.
For like 12 weeks.
I remember one time me and Napoleon Emil, a comic, real funny dude. There was a point when we were newer comics, we sold tickets in Times Square. And we were both heavier dudes, so they were like, the other ticket salesman wanted us to do like the 50 McNugget challenge, and we each ate 50 nuggets. I beat him. Like, he didn't even eat the 50. He honestly told me he was just looking for extra food for the rest of the day, so he packaged some away and ate it. I ate all 50. I had sets that night. I was taking like
you had what? Sets that night. I
think
say you had sex that night.
No, God.
Like, you were fucking.
There would have been no libido that night. I was tapping my face with the paper towel, just sweating grease from all those nuggets.
God. Yeah, your dick would have looked like a chicken McNugget if you were fucking.
The fat years were not good for my dick. My dick is in its prime right now.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, it's just like strong, like, oh yeah, I'm out of here.
Yeah, it's like 20-year-old dick, because I got fat at 19 years old. So now it's like it was like a fossil. I got it out of the fossil. It came back to life.
You had to chip away and
you had to chip the fat away.
Wow. So okay. So you did it on your own, no surgery.
No surgery, no.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And which, by the way, I want to know where you were at. I want you to paint the picture. Were you at your pop's place? Were you at your home in Astoria when your father laid down the law? Like, listen, you're an athlete. Was he sitting down? Was he standing up when he gave you this advice? Was he watching a ball game, not even giving you eye contact?
I want to say he was probably sitting on the couch of his house. I mean, I've lived in his house until 2 weeks ago, so it was obviously at their place. But,
I don't know why I picture like you're in the kitchen, like looking in the fridge, like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna get the surgery. But he's not giving you any eye contact. He's like watching New York 1 and just flicking the child. Like,
he's just saying,
you're an athlete. What are you doing? You know? But yeah, he's just like preoccupied with some other shit too.
It was probably kind of like, my dad's a very athletic dude. I mean, he's also like struggled with his weight at points, but now he's like me. He's crazy. He's like 54. I want to say 53 or 54 this past year. Unofficially, I mean, if the video exists, it in my opinion, officially, he broke the record for the most push-ups done in an hour.
Wow.
He did 3,054 push-ups in an hour.
But it's not in the Guinness Book of World Records.
No, because my mom was the counter. So we have it all on video. That like you could watch it. He does all the amount, but because my mom was the one counting, she's a family member, so the Guinness Book World Records technically doesn't count it.
Guinness, you suck. The beer sucks. The record holders suck. You guys just want money.
That's what they want. They want you to pay them to come out so they count. They end up just making money off it. He's never gonna do it again. He did it one time and was done. But like that's the type of dude he is. He's got that mentality.
Yeah, so that's where you got it from.
Definitely got it from him. My mom too. Like they're both people who are like really hard workers. So, like once I put my head down to start losing the weight, like. It's funny, it doesn't seem like a process to me. It seems like there's a start point and there's now. And the middle is just such a blur because once I put my head down and worked, that was it. It was game on. So like it all just blurs together because, it started with short runs. You don't obviously start as an ultra runner. But I've only been running for 2 years, so technically my first race ever was
2 years?
Yeah.
As an ultra marathon?
As anything, yeah, just running. My first race was 40 miles. So like that's the only, like the first record on the books of any race I've ever done, 40 miles.
And if I'm not mistaken, what qualifies as an ultra is anything above 26 miles?
Anything longer than a marathon. So like there's a lot of like 33-mile races. Like you have that. A lot of, not a lot of 40s. That's like an obscure number. A lot of 50s. 50 to 55 is a big one. And then you have the 100-mile races, which there are some ultra runners who will only consider 100s as an ultra marathon. Everything else is kind of just like child's play. And then you have some people doing even crazier stuff than that now. You have like 200-plus mile races.
And people even challenge themselves in being in obscure conditions. They do that shit in deserts and the snow.
Deserts. I have a friend on Instagram. She just ran a multiple day. So it's a stage ultramarathon. You run an ultra every day on the volcanoes in Iceland.
I want to sit her down and ask her what she's really running away from in life.
Dude, so many people ask me that. What are you running away from? And I always tell them I was told I was too fat to zip line at summer camp as a kid. So, like, when you walk up to a steel rope and someone's like, you can't get on that. I'm like, well, I'm going to have to.
You had the helmet on and everything?
Helmet on. Yeah, you have to, like, slowly take the you have to unclip the helmet, put it off to the side. Then everyone's like, what, did you get scared? And I'm like, yeah, that's what happened. I definitely wasn't too fat.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Summer camp as a fat kid was the worst because everything's athletic. And you're like, I don't want to go up a rock wall. I'm not built
Then you
for
got to
it.
offset the energy and just start bullying motherfuckers.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I would bully the camp counselor. I have a bit on my first album, but I got beat by one of the camp counselors because I bullied him so
Sleeper hole.
much.
Go to sleep. Go to sleep. What movie was that? He said, go to sleep, baby boy.
What was
I
that?
think Ving Rhames that's
Dude, he was great. I think he's pretty
Go to
dead.
sleep.
Or maybe not. Do you think Ving Rhames is dead?
No, he's still alive.
You think? I feel like he's a guy who's dead. I don't know. He just, he
should, man. After that, after getting raped in Pulp Fiction, I wouldn't want to be. That
I've
shit was so
never
realistic.
seen Pulp Fiction. My dad put it on to just that scene. I walked in on that. That's a hard one to just come in on.
I recently, not to get too much off track, but I recently met the cop that assisted with the rape. He had a very small part, and he's been in a number of different movies. I forget his name in the movie. Zed.
Rapist
Zed.
2.
Yes, raping number 2 was Zed, and he was the county cop or something. He was like the local cop.
Yeah.
I met him.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, dude," he's smoking a cigarette. He's like, "Can you imagine having a role like that? Telling your mother I'm a rapist." He said, "I hated that fucking role."
Like, it changed me.
Yeah. He had a pit bull with him.
Like
right
a
in the Lower
Vietnam
East Side.
vet.
He's like, "Can you imagine going home and saying, 'Mom, I got the role?'" She said, "Congratulations. What are you gonna?" I'm the rapist. I'm the rapist number 2.
I think my mom would still be proud. It's not like
my mother will be. Yeah, she's very.
it's
She's
not
very.
like my mother's gonna be like, oh my God, he's actually a rapist now. I'm not that good of an actor.
But it was very graphic. It
It
was
was
very,
as graphic. Yeah,
like
that's
you saw,
not a role.
You saw him like pushing into the buns of another man, dimples in his butt, like pushing.
I picture the mom being like, you can't even get proud. Like, you go out to the nurse and be like, my son, he's in Pulp Fiction. They're like, what scene? She's like, oh.
So you get breaking up. What?
Yeah.
I can't hear you. Meanwhile, like standing right in front of the person.
I didn't recognize him in there. Oh, no, he's in the toughest scene.
Jesus. So your first one, how was it? Was it a good experience? Was it something like, oh, I don't want to do this ever again? And it was a 40, right?
40 miles in Pennsylvania. It was through the woods. Good climates, like 5,000 feet of elevation. I didn't treat it the right way. Like, my training was
You were
whatever.
disrespectful to the race?
I was disrespectful to the. So, like, it starts off. So, like, the training is tough because I deal with a few injuries in the training for that one. But I'm good enough to where I'm like, I think I could pull this off.
What injury is it? I'm interested in all that shit.
That one was I was dealing with a lot of foot problems, post-tib tendonitis. It's called, which is pain on the inside of your foot, and then like
That sounds so hard to like repair.
exactly. Yeah, I'm dealing with so much shit from my last race right now on my feet that I haven't even been able to put together like 3 days straight of running in 3 weeks right now. But like that first race, so I deal with that. I also fell and I tore my ankle after that race. So the first one was just feet problems, all tendonitis that I had to get worked on. I ended up having to take like 7 weeks off, but I got to the starting line, and I fucked up because like the dude who was running the race knew I was running it, so he like did this pre-race announcement. He's like, "We got a comedian who lost a bunch of weight running with us from New York, Dan Lamorte. Put your hand up." So I put my hand up. While I did that, he kind of hit the starting gun. And I didn't realize I was standing in the front of the pack. I thought we were running the opposite direction, so I thought I was in the back of the pack. So for the first, 4 miles, I went out with the front of the pack. Instead of just cooling off immediately and standing, I went out hard and ran, really fast miles with them. And then I pulled into the aid station, realized I went too fast. By 8 miles, my legs blew up just from that
shit.
going out with the lead. So, I wanted to quit by, 16 miles
Oh,
in.
my God.
And on top of it, I agreed to let
That's very common with if you're new to a race.
so common.
Going hard up top.
Because the adrenaline, you're like, oh my God, it feels good, so I could keep it going. You don't realize there's 40 miles left. You have so much time. And on top of that, I agreed to let a documentary crew from LA come in and make a documentary about this.
So
the
they're
weight
all
loss.
in your face with the fucking camera.
A whole week, I was like a Kardashian. New respect for them. Cameras in my face. They were over. There was one point I was doing Zoom therapies. Like, you think I could get your therapy session? I'm like, no, you can't.
God
you can't
damn.
record my Zoom therapy. And yeah, so cameras on me all week. And race day, that was tough because I didn't know how to go about an ultra. So there was a lot of walking involved in that first race. So you're walking, you're deep in pain. So much pain mentally, physically, and then you just look behind you and there's a camera following you while you're walking. and you just feel so shitty. You're like, oh, people are going to see me walking, and they're going to think I'm like a bitch. And I'm like, that's not really true because you're running 40 miles. So it was a learning experience, though. So, like, each of these races, you take something and you learn, and you're like, okay, I fixed that for the next time. So this one that I did 3 weeks ago, which was 55 miles, I went out slow, and then that was so helpful. So, like, 26 miles on, I never got passed in that last race. I only passed people in the last one. Whereas my first race, I think almost everybody passed me. In this one, after the halfway point, I didn't see anyone except the people that I was
That's a good
cutting
feeling.
down. It's the best feeling when you're like 40 miles into a race, and I had enough energy, so I was throwing down quick miles. Like, not only was I passing people, but if I saw myself coming up on someone, I hit the fucking jets and sprinted past them to, like, not to be a dick, but to kind of let them know, like, you're not coming back for me. Like, I don't know these people.
When you see someone and they still got good speed ahead of you, do you take a little snicker to the mouth or like a little power up?
Energy jelly beans.
I love those
them.
energy.
Love 'em.
That's one thing I started doing recently with my runs. The packages of vanilla bean and
I love 'em.
squeeze them in. I'm like, power up, and
Yeah,
I'm like,
you
dude,
really feel it.
You start running like Mega Man.
Absolutely, especially because it's got that, like, these races have aid stations, so like every certain
I they
amount
say
of
aid
Yeah.
stations. I was like, oh, they give you can fuck.
They
at the
have one
stations?
guy with
you
AIDS
can fuck a dirty
aid
bitch.
station, and
Because AIDS ain't that bad these days.
it's not. It's a livable condition.
Yeah, it's a livable
It's
condition.
probably
because
good for a runner because it gets you skinny. You have to be light.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's some people who rather have AIDS than COVID these days.
I haven't met those people.
Yo, I live in a dirtbag part of town.
Just meeting people trying to get AIDS and
Yeah,
stuff.
or just me just randomly asking those questions. Would you rather AIDS or COVID?
That's
and
a
then
new
like thinking
segment.
about it, scratching their head.
AIDS on the street segment. Man on the
Ooh,
street.
Yeah.
I remember one time, this is so off topic, but I'll stick to this bit. I was pitching a TV show. I forgot which. I think it was probably True TV. It was like a sports, it was like Eric Andre meets sports, like a weird talk show. And we had a van on the street segment where I was trying to write this bit where we pull up in a van, jump out with the face masks on, right into an interview with people on the street. So they think they're getting kidnapped, but then we just interview them. I stick by that being a great sketch for a bit.
You trying to get shot?
Yeah. Eric Andre, I feel like that's what he did. He almost got killed by so many celebrities on his show.
Oh my God. Yeah, Eric Andre is nuts. He's a lot of fun.
He
He's
wouldn't
wild.
even tell these people. So, like, I interviewed.
Was he doing it to celebrities?
Yeah, because on the Eric Andre show, he would fuck with them when he brought them on. So, like,
I remember that, right.
I interviewed Steve Shrippa, Bobby Bacloff from The Sopranos, and Eric Andre fucked with him. And I asked him, did you know that was going to happen? He's like, no. I was sitting there, and he pulled out a jar of my mom's tomato sauce and started dipping his balls in it. And he did that in front of him, which is like the biggest disrespect to an Italian.
Hyper disrespectful.
Yeah, that's how I know the dude. We used to sell his tomato sauce in my dad's deli.
Oh, wow. He's the one, I know, I'm 99% sure I know who you're talking about. He was the heavy one that was the, like, right-hand man to Tony Soprano's dated his sister.
Yeah, he dated Janice.
Yeah, he was like in the lower rank.
He was in the lower ranks, and then by the later seasons, he'd worked his way up, and then he gets a bullet, like, looking at trains.
Oh, yeah, and he was such a nice guy in that character, in that show. He was
Such
a nice guy.
So much scarier in real life. He's more of a mobster in real life, I think, than in that. He was definitely a little frightening.
So a lot of those guys were actually mobsters. Which I think we're not mobsters. I don't want to say you guys are mobsters like they're watching this shit. But you know what I'm saying?
This
Like
is the last episode of the show. You're dead next week.
But a lot of them were like involved some shit,
Yeah.
and where they could internalize
So they knew
that
it.
street character. Yeah.
I don't know if he was one of them. He booked stand-up comedy at the Riviera in Vegas before he did The Sopranos.
Oh, what?
Yeah, he booked stand-up.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean I what if I see a guy like that, I immediately just picture them as they were in the show. It's hard to separate like strong characters like that.
Absolutely. It's hard. Like, he told me on the podcast, because I smoke a lot of weed, he's like, you don't got to tell everyone you smoke weed. You don't need to have, like, a shtick. And I so badly wanted to be like, who are you to say a shtick? You're a mobster. That's the ultimate. That's, like, the shtick of acting. And you're gonna
So you smoke?
Yeah.
Will you smoke and run?
That's how I lost all the weight.
Interesting. So you
Start
get
running.
hyper focused and you're good.
Yeah. Never my races. I don't run any race.
Oh, that's what I
stoned.
meant.
No race stone, but I do most of my training stoned.
But it's probably good for your recovery. Do you find?
Good for the inflammation, good to help with the pain. Yeah, so like that's why I took off weed for like a month and a half, and I went back to it just because how bad my feet are hurting after this race. But like the first race, I didn't smoke before, and then at the halfway point, so 20 miles, I tried to smoke a joint, and my stomach was not having it.
Wow.
It was not happy. So this one, I just went completely sober, and I'd go without headphones too. I just go.
I'm glad you brought that up because we had a discussion at the club the other day, and you had mentioned that, and I'm glad that you brought that up because that's interesting. When I run, I'll do it for half the race. It's like a treat.
Yeah.
But I fucks with that. I like that you do that because you reveal the truth of what you're able to withstand. Running without music, you gain a rhythm to your own breath, and you're fucking forced to face everything.
Absolutely.
It's no bullshit.
It could be either or. So, like, when I run without headphones, I've gotten to a point where I feel like if, say, I have a bit I'm working on, I could make that the whole focus. So, like, I won't have any music, but I'll just be thinking about this bit. How could I do this? And I'll just be working it over in my head or whatever. So you want to work on some anxiety you're dealing with. You bring that up in your head. You just think about that the whole time, how you could deal with it. Or on the flip side, without headphones, I could completely turn it off. I could just go completely numb and just run and not focus on anything. That's what I love about not having headphones. You could go into either of those zones. Whereas when I have headphones on, I just go completely into the pump-up zone, and it ruins my run because I'll go much faster than I want to because I start running to the cadence of the beat or whatever. But, like, I do kind of what you do, like that halfway thing you said. It's like if I want to run with headphones in a training run, I do this little thing that I invented called earn your headphones, where I'll just run half the run without it, then the second half I'll toss them on.
That's what I'll do because I feel like for a guy who runs such a long distance, you probably find you're not warming up to like 8-10 miles at this point.
Yeah, at that point, that's when you start to feel like really nice. Like I went out yesterday with my feet that are completely busted, and like 4 miles in, the pain was excruciating. Like it felt like someone was nailing the middles of my feet, and then by like 6 miles, I felt nothing. It was great. Yeah. And then today, they're black and blue and red and bruised. I mean,
got some Flintstone feet.
It's bad. I don't know what these injuries are. I mean, the one doctor thinks I have stress fractures in both my feet, but it's so like I tried to come back to a week after the race. It hurt too bad. Then I took a week off. Now I took like 7 days off. Ran again yesterday, and it's just right back to the pain. But it's so hard for me to take off. Like it's so crazy to think. There was a point I never would have run like 10 steps, and now I literally can't force myself to take off from running. It's such an addiction. It is.
I mean, it gives me such clarity. When I run,
I'm a dick if I don't run now. Like, I'm really a much worse person.
I mean, I'm just things in life are just so much more manageable, and I need all that shit that the run gives you. I need the hardships of it. I need to feel like I don't want to do it because then that's applied to every other thing in my life I don't want to do or I don't want to face.
Yeah.
You fucking do it, and you realize, oh, I can do this shit.
That's why I love it. That's why I run these long races, because when you push yourself through 55 miles, I mean, there are some real lows of that where, like, you feel pain that you never thought you could feel. And once you get through that, you're like, what the fuck is life going to throw at me? Like, if you put yourself in uneasy and uncomfortable situations, it's only going to make you stronger for situations that don't even apply to it. Running has helped me in every area of my life. Anxiety. Like, I used to be a dude who would be, like, anxious about shit. Now I don't care. What are you going to do? I ran 55 miles. A woman was heckling me the other day. I was like, what are you going to do to me? I was like, I ran till I broke both my feet. I was like, you think you're going to fucking hit me up here? I'm like, I've done worse to me than you'll ever do. I was like, awesome. I don't care.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, everything kind of rolls off the shoulder. Floyd Mayweather, shoulder rolls type shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I mean, in the great words of David Goggins, he says, I run. And we were talking about this the other day, right? He says, I run not to run. I hate running. I have my sneakers there. Sometimes I stay at them for 5 minutes at 4 o'clock in the morning. I run to prepare me for the death of my mother.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh.
Yeah, dude, that dude, I would love to convince Goggins to go to therapy and record those sessions. That guy, he's my favorite. Like, that's one of the biggest inspirations in my, so like, he had that 30% rule or whatever. It's 40% rule. I forgot what the exact number is, but he says that when you feel tired at the end of a run, you've actually used like 30% of the energy. You have like 70, 60% left. So like when I started losing the weight, everyone was telling me, you got to check out this Goggins dude. And I'd already run on my own. Like I made the decision, run on my own. That was all me. And I'm very stubborn, so like it needs to present itself to me for me to listen. So one day I'm driving to the boardwalk.
I don't know why I pictured David Goggins' asshole just opening up. He needs to present himself. So like I saw David Goggins' asshole like, here, this is me presenting myself.
He just has a tattoo, you don't know me, son, above his asshole. Just that's for like people who know Goggins. That's his slogan. And so I listen to that shit. I'm driving to the boardwalk. I never run more than 4 miles, and he does this 30% rule. And I listened to this interview. It was the first time I heard him. I was like, yeah, it's some pretty cool shit. So I'm running on the boardwalk. I drop my water bottle. It rolls into the water, like goes downhill, goes away. Yeah, so I'm like, fuck, I'm not going to run now. And then I was like, you know what? Let's see what this dude was about. I never run more than 4 miles. I run 8 miles down the boardwalk. Now realizing I have to run 8 back, so a 16-mile run. At the half marathon mark, I asked an old woman who was driving. I flagged her down. I was like, "Can you drive me the last 3 miles? Because my legs are toasted." She was like, "Fuck you, no." And she thought I was insane. And that
She was looking at you like you were pulling out of a van with a mask on.
Yeah, van on the street.
With a mic.
She was not I was like, "Can I get in your car? You just driving to the end?" She was like, "Absolutely not."
And you were entitled about it, so you're like, hey, listen, this is what I'm
It's
doing.
like, you don't even know what I just did. That was like the moment for me. I was like, "Oh, this Goggins dude is up to some shit," and that's why I became obsessed with him after.
Yeah, it kind of. I had a run like that for training where I was on the road, and that's what you gotta do, right? If you're on the road, you gotta train.
Yeah.
And it was for the New York City this past summer, and I ran 20 miles like at 5 o'clock in the morning in Fort Lauderdale. I'm not familiar with the area. There's no fucking fountains there. How does Florida have everything available to you? Iguanas, methamphetamine, guns, but they don't have water fountains on the boardwalk.
Oh, no water
So I'm
fountains.
hitting fucking shower stalls. I'm like a fucking
That's
lizard.
the worst when you get too thirsty when you're running.
Yeah, and I was just like drinking water out of shower stalls, but I was enjoying the sunset. There's a lot of interesting things,
Yeah.
I passed by a motel with a shitty ass pool. You could tell these guys are like on drugs all night long. It was interesting to watch. I bought a water there, kept it moving, but my knee was like shot.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like I couldn't run on the asphalt anymore, but I finished the run on a treadmill. But it's just like things I had thought of. It's amazing how you can
Sometimes
kick
the
in.
pain goes away too because you think so much. Like one of my favorite sayings in ultra running is like her name's Ann Trayson, one of the most famous female ultra runners of all time, or any ultra runner for that matter. And she has just a simple saying where she's like, "In ultra running, it doesn't always get worse." And that's what I take it into life too. I'm like, sometimes shit'll be awful, and then it's better. When I'm running, there are sometimes I'll be in excruciating pain for like mile 30 to 35 of that last race. I was in pain. And then mile 36, you feel like you just started running again, and somehow it's all gone. And that's when you're like, oh, shit, a lot of this is mental.
A lot of it is
A
mental.
lot of this is just you're thinking you're in pain, so your mind is like, I'm in pain, and now you're in pain. And then once it goes away, you're like, oh, that was nothing. It was a thought. It was fleeting.
And those thoughts will consume you. They'll grab you, crumble you up, and spit you out, and they'll give you reasons.
Yeah,
To, like,
an ultra
stop.
marathon is genuinely just a very long battle. You have to win 1,000 different battles in your mind to finish a race. There's so many different points of that where you're telling yourself, quit. Why am I doing this? Why are you here? These people are better than you. And you just have to win each of those battles because if one of those beats you, that's all it takes. If you get in your mind in one of these races, mile 30, you're like, I'm done, and you look up and you're like, I have 25 miles left, it's going to be hard. If you stay out of that zone and you just stay positive, I literally, the whole last race just kept going, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. That fucking Finding Nemo thing.
Yeah.
I don't know why that got stuck in my head. It was so annoying, but it worked. It was 11 hours long of me just going, just keep swimming. I wanted to die by the end of it. But, 11 hours it took.
11 hours.
My goal time was 11 hours. It took me 11 hours and 9 minutes. I got lost for 12 minutes, so I would have been underneath the goal
How'd you
time.
get lost?
Because you have to follow the course yourself. So, like, there's just gets a point where you get a little foggy in the head, and you're like, was that a pink
You
blaze?
might have died.
Yeah. I hallucinated at the end of this one my first time ever. Like, usually only hallucinate in 100-mile races, but I had one at the end of this 55-miler where I thought I saw a woman in a chair, and it was nothing. It was just like a tiny little pile of dirt.
Was this the last one where you saw the timber rattlesnake?
No, that was just a training run. That was a real thing because I was only 4 miles in when I saw that rattlesnake. So that was real because I thought it was a tree branch, then it moved, and I was like,
See, that's scary, right? Because if that shit's crossing the path and you're just like disoriented from the run, you step on one of those motherfuckers.
Oh, there's ultra runners who have died. There was a guy, crazy story. He was running in a race, I think like Alaska or some shit. He realizes a bear's following him. Has enough time to call his mom and say, I love you, there's a bear following me. And then, there's no happy ending to this. The bear ate him.
Damn, a bear?
Yeah, and he knew, he had enough time to call his family and be like, hey, there's a bear. I feel like if you have enough time to call your family.
He could have kept it moving a little faster.
You could have called 911 maybe, worked that in before Madre.
You think the bear was chasing him? Like, this stupid motherfucker picked up his cell phone.
The bear is actually like, let's just let him make a few calls to get him in
Yeah,
there.
yeah. The bear had him in the headlock. Make that call.
Wildlife is my biggest fear, though. Bears are my biggest fear. My next race is on a mountain in New Jersey that has bears, so I have to go. I'm going to start, once the feet heal up fully, I'll be driving from Queens to this mountain once a week, every week. It's 2 hours away, but you got to fucking do it.
Become familiar with it, right?
I've run it before, but it's really hard terrain. There's no runnable sections. It's all jagged rock up and down the mountain. So I have to go there and just put in miles and miles. And there's bears there, so we'll see.
How would you equip yourself for a bear encounter? Do you carry like bear spray or something like that?
I I don't know, maybe do some bits. Just get some jokes, run it past the bear before. I'm just going to accept death.
They're probably not aggressive. What are those, black
You get
bears?
big and yell at them. That's what they say. You got to pick, like, that water vest you wear, like, pick it up over your head and yell at the bear. I don't know if I have the confidence to yell at the bear, though.
Leave me alone. Voice cracks, echoes. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
I don't know what I do. Like, I guess I just run faster, I hope. But bears are pretty quick, they say.
Yeah. I don't know if those bears are known for being aggressive. I think they're very shy. I think grizzly bears are assholes. But
Yeah.
I believe there's black bears in Jersey. I could be wrong. I don't
Who
really
knows?
know.
I wouldn't want to find out.
Yeah.
I feel
Well,
like-
I think they become territorial if they feel like you're fucking with their young.
Yeah.
You know. So if you're into young bears, back off.
I'm a big young bear guy. I actually go out there looking for the cubs.
We're in Chelsea. We're in the area.
Equinox.
Yeah, I once been hit on by a bear, and I'm talking about a bear from Chelsea, and it was like he was like, "God bless you, you are beautiful," and that's a nice compliment.
Yeah.
I've never been told, "God bless you, you are beautiful."
Well, yeah, gay men compliment men, straight men, in ways that women never compliment us.
Right, and
You
that shit
feel
made me
so
feel
warm.
Yeah, like the way he like combed me with his eyes. I was like,
I remember even one time a gay guy called me big boy when I was much heavier, and I was even just with that insult, I was like, wow, thank you.
You got all red in your
Yeah,
face. Like,
I'm always red, but I got even redder.
oh my god. So what's the next race you're doing? Is
It's
it the
called
one in Jersey?
Yeah, it's called the Mount Tammany 10. So New Jersey has one mountain called Mount Tammany.
And when is that?
March 26th. It's
March 26th. I'm
40
sorry, you said
miles
that.
long, but it's 1,300 feet of elevation each lap, so you have to climb 13,000 feet over 10 hours for 40 miles. So it'll be the hardest race. I mean, it's 15 miles shorter than the last one, but this one will be substantially harder. 'Cause
So what's the plan for your feet? Are you just gonna rest? Are you gonna run through the pain, or you just?
right now it's been running through the pain, but now I'm realizing, like, you have to get to the starting line of a race healthy, so might as well just take 2 weeks off, see if it fully heals, and then get back to it.
And a stress fracture. How do you? I mean, that's just rest,
I think
right?
Just rest, and
Yeah.
I ice. I love icing.
You should
and-
do your stand up, laying on your back with your feet up.
Yeah, I think Galifianakis used to do that, so maybe it'll work. I mean, I'll do anything. It turns out that's what blows me up. They're like, dude, Dan Lamorte started laying down. Career was never the same.
Yeah, I guess with your head just like your face flushed red. It's like
Icing my feet while I'm on stage, just taking my life. That's like when Rodney used to go up in just his bathrobe, you know? Just do whatever you want up there. Who gives a shit?
for real. This heckler that you had recently, what kind of heckler was it? Because there's like the friendly hecklers, there's the drunk hecklers, there's the just assholes who think they're funny. Do you remember what this bitch was
She
saying?
was
Excuse me,
drunk.
what this woman
She
was
just
saying?
drunk.
They're all the worst.
No, I had one who was
Friendly
mean.
hecklers are weird though.
Friendly heckles are weird because you don't really
You
feel
don't
like
wanna
yelling
smash
at
'em.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a woman recently when I did like some of my weight loss material. She just yelled out. She was in the front row. She's like, "Well, I know you, and you're gonna gain it all back."
Yo!
And she was heavy, so then I immediately went, "No, don't say that because you did. You think I'm gonna?" So I basically started calling her fat, and it worked. I got like 3 fat jokes off on her. Crowd was on my side, like really.
Yeah, you
hit
probably
her.
got those in your back pocket.
Yeah, had 3 on her. and
That's
then
your territory.
You start to feel good. You're like, "Yo, let me hit her with one more fat joke," and I
You're like dancing on the mic.
hit that 4th one, crowd just gone. Lewis, I lumped her friends in on the last one. I was like, and these pigs. And then the whole crowd was done. And then that's when you want to pull out your fat picture. Like, no, look, I was one of them once.
Oh my God, that's great.
You get so cocky in comedy. Then you're like, all right, I'll hit him with one more. Like, you get that new joke working. You get like the tag working. You're like, all right, let me see if I can riff this last tag. And then it just ruins the whole.
Oh,
bit.
that's the worst.
You get
That's
too
the worst.
cocky.
Yeah,
get
you
too
roll the
cocky.
dice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works, maybe.
Yeah, but it's worth the gamble.
It's worth the gamble. Crowd work now I feel like is really hit or miss because like sometimes the crowd will really be on the audience member side. So if you hit them with something they don't like, it's done for the rest of the set. Felt like that with the patio. Like if you upset someone on like one of these outdoor patio shows, it was hard to get the energy back because it was just out into the universe.
Yeah, and all you hear is a fucking city bike go by.
I had one 2 weeks ago with the garbage truck. Like, so I'm on the patio at the stand, which luckily now since it's December, the patio is done.
Yeah,
And
you're like, can I send my avails for everything but the patio? How
there
does
were
this
comics
work?
doing that. I was getting extra patio spots because, dude, I paid my rent 1 month off patio spots because no
Fuck
one
it.
wanted them.
That's
I
the
loved
runner
it.
in you. Like, I'm going to
Yeah.
do this
Why
shit.
not?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite there. I was hanging out with Vlad.
Yeah.
You know Vlad. Vlad,
Yeah.
come on. Shout out to Vlad, very funny comic, good actor too. And it was the night I met you. And we go outside, and it's cold. It's this type of cold. And I see people, I'm like, oh my God, this looks so hard. There's comedy
Yeah.
outside on the sidewalk. People are hanging out in the outdoor food shed, where dining
They were
shed.
literally giving the audience members blankets at the stand. So you'd get a blanket with your ticket. You'd sit down and put the blanket over you.
Correct. And then so now you have the comic, which is under a light, not a heat lamp.
No,
just
no
a light.
heat lamp for a comic.
So there's a few seats in front of the comic. Then there's the sidewalk. So you got
Yeah.
people just stabbing through the
and
show.
Irving Plaza's right around the corner. So anytime there was a big concert, you'd have the concert lined up. But they would be nice enough to not put them in front of the stage, so they'd be off to the sides. But then when the line moved, they would walk in front anyway.
Of course.
It was complete chaos some nights. But then other nights, that's when you really feel like when all the other comics are like canceling and just not showing up, and then you go up there. And what I found each time was if you went up there feeling defeated, like this sucks, I hate my
They
life,
smell that shit.
they smell it. I
And
mean,
you don't want to really be
a
there.
lot
You're
of
not
comics
present.
thinks crowds are dumber than they actually are. They're like, these are dumb idiots. I'm like, they read your energy immediately. If you go up there being like, this is going to be the worst set, it's going to be. But if you go up there being like, fuck it, let's have fun.
Yeah, and they're also dealing with it too. You think that's that's exactly what they want to do?
Yeah,
We're all
most
in
of
this
them didn't
together.
know it was an outdoor show. They went
Oh,
online
really?
and forgot. No, it
Oh, they
says
forgot.
online,
Yeah,
but they're
yeah,
just
yeah.
idiots.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a lot of times I'll be like, why
I like
did you
the fact that
guys?
you said they're not dumb. Oh, they're just idiots.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
but I
you're
get
right,
what
you're
you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably says in small print. They're like, oh, it's 60 degrees
No, it
today.
says in a big print, indoors.
It'll be fun. It's very New York.
Indoors or outdoors, it used to say.
But I'm hanging out with right indoors, outdoors. They get you with that one. I'm hanging out with Vlad, and I leave the club, and I light up an American Spirit, right? And I look at that. I'm like, yo, this looks hard. I said, yo, if I was working this club, I would send my bills, but like no outdoor set. And I was like, yo, who, why? Like I was like going in
Yeah.
because it looked like I was like, oh, it's the last thing I want to do. And Vlad's like, I'm going up next. And I started cracking up, and he went up to his thing. You know, it
there
was
are
fine.
some nights where like that's literally. I think my favorite moment in comedy is the brief moment where the comic coming off stage and you're coming on stage and you have that little thing where they're like, hey, they fucking sucked. Like when they whisper in your ear, and that was always coming off the patio. Like these people are brutal.
Yeah.
A little handoff.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, but I feel like there are also. The outdoor audiences know what's going on, so they're not looking at you like you suck. They're like, this situation is it's very compromising. It's very
Height
it's
of
not,
the pandemic, I'd agree because they were so interested. Now it's like a little weird with the outdoor.
they're
shows,
kind of
but
over it.
It's funny. The Stands patio was like one of the first clubs to come back. So like that went like by the end of it, everyone was like, "Wow, this is one of the hardest sets." But there was a point where everyone was like, "Dude, I got a Stand patio spot. I can't believe it," because it was the only show that was back. Like that was a spot for a while. That was literally a spot where everyone was coming to because it was the only place to perform outside of like the Tiny Cupboard and that shit. Like the few places that kept comedy alive.
Right.
Joey Bat's Cafe, which was
Yeah, they were
one
hot.
of my favorites. That dude made mean ass pastries. Yeah, I still eat like a pig.
So you'll eat. So
I eat like an asshole. So bad.
was that the reason for your weight gain because of your eating habits, or is this sort of?
Oh, absolutely. Wasn't an accident, dude.
Yeah.
Wendy's 6 spicy chicken
What's the
sandwiches.
most dirtbag sitting you had with food? Do you remember? It's like a
Wendy's and Pizza Hut's. Wendy's order was 6 spicy.
not Pizza Hut, Pizza Huts.
Yeah.
It's plural.
Pizza Hut. No, I would pull into the Wendy's drive-thru on the way home because it would be right by my house. So I would like do my sets, and then you're like, oh, I could stop because it would be an hour and a half drive to Jersey. So like, oh, I earned this. I had 2 sets and I drove an hour and a half. I would get 6 spicy chicken sandwiches plain.
You don't eat like that anymore.
Not anymore. This was my order. This is that will get me fat. 6 spicy chicken sandwiches plain, 3 fries, 2 large Cokes, and then like a Frosty or something. That was like a regular Wendy's order.
Why do you think you eating like that? That's anxiety, right?
I don't know. I love food.
It could just be that too, because I
Probably
like
a mix
food too.
of things. It's like a mix. I mean,
'Cause
probably
I got
like,
the eating habits of a badger, but I don't go in like that.
yeah, I had parents who like growing up, food was a reward. So like when I needed to lose weight as a kid, my mom made me join the cross country team. But then every practice I went to, she'd buy me ice cream after.
But that's some regular kid shit.
And that's not that regular because like the coach would be like, "You're the only runner getting fatter on the team. You're showing up and getting heavier." I'm like, "Yeah, my mom's giving me frozen yogurt every night for doing this."
Yeah.
I was like, my splits were going down and down.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it is. I mean, it's hard to even look back. Like, there are still some days where I'll just go out. I mean, I'm definitely a stress eater. So, like, if I feel like if I have a bad day, I'm definitely going to stop and get, like, a chocolate bar at the end of the night. I also just love, like, last night, coming home, I had good sets. I wanted on the walk home to my apartment, I just got, like, a bottle of water, a bar of chocolate, and smoke a bowl in bed, and I love that shit.
Yeah.
I love snacks and food. I love it all.
Yeah.
That's why I run so much, because I want to be able to eat what I want.
Yeah, and you could put away food after a run like that. I'll have and my runs are not, I'm doing just, but when I ran the marathon, I had the Colombian meal. My wife is Colombian. The breakfast is dirtbag. It's like chicharron, which is fried pork skin.
Yeah.
Steak, egg, rice and beans, plátanos, avocado.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I come from a family that eats like that, so that's probably what it is too. So like Thanksgiving, we do everyone does a big dinner. We would do big breakfast to start. So like you show up like this past year, French toast casserole, unreal. It's like a casserole that's made of it's French toast in like a dish.
That sounds super dirtbag. I love it.
Yeah. Cinnabons, eggs up the ass, hash browns, potatoes, shredded hash browns. So you have like hash brown patties, hash browns, like the shredded hash browns, regular breakfast potatoes.
Man, potatoes are my favorite. What's your favorite? I like when they have
Potatoes.
skin on the end.
So they get like nice and crispy.
Yeah, little onion slice in there.
I love this. So like this is what my family does. So like we talk food while we're sitting down and eating food. Like that's my whole life, and I do that with everyone in comedy. I'll be at the stand, we'll be eating, and I'll just be talking.
You
to
wish you
people
could
about
have two
food.
mouths. One to talk about the food and one to like stuff
That's
your face.
and that's weird behavior. Like imagine you were fucking someone and you're like, this is good, but remember that girl I had 2 years ago? Like you don't do that's wrong. But we do that with food. Like we'll be eating my aunt's dish. She'd be like, yeah, but you made this better 3 years ago.
That's hilarious.
Bad fam. Like roasting, big time in the Italian side, and then a lot of eating too.
Yeah. Did you go in this Thanksgiving with food?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't go
I've
that
gained a lot of weight
hard.
since the race a few weeks ago. I went into the race in the 160s, and I'm probably sitting in the 180s now.
Yeah, but that weight fluctuates.
Yeah, I can't stay in the 160s. It's good for me to go into a race like that, and like that last few weeks of training, I'll be pretty much that heavy because of the mileage you're putting in every week. Like the end there, I was like 60 to 70 mile weeks, and then when you're running that much, it's hard to stay heavy. And then after the race, like if it's easy to put the weight back on.
Yeah, and your girlfriend gets annoyed with all your running because that's like a part-time job.
She gets in, yeah, like I want her to come to races, and she doesn't want to. So like that's always a point of conflict. But she's not a runner, which is kind of nice because she's a comic. So like you don't want to date someone who you work with and then also run with. Like it's good to have something for yourself.
Yeah, my wife and my daughter won't come to the races either. They'll support me in different
Yeah.
ways, but the first marathon I ran, my daughter was laying on her stomach with her feet crossed playing Fortnite. She give two shits.
My girl came to my first 2 races. That'll be it. I don't think there'll be another one.
Yeah.
It's also you feel bad because like you think you want them there, but then once they express that they don't want to be there, even if
They're
come,
waiting a long time.
Yeah, and then even if they come, now the whole time you're running and you're feeling bad, you're like, this person doesn't want to be here and they're here. So you end up
In
just
the
worrying
cold,
about that
the
shit.
heat.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think about her once in the last race, but yeah, then I didn't worry about her waiting there. My feet were broken. I was thinking about that.
It's also like it's so part of your life. It's something that's really for you that you really don't care. It's like a stand up.
Yeah.
You don't care if your girlfriend goes to your shows. If anything, I prefer that they don't come.
Yeah, we definitely like. She'll see a lot of
Well,
sets
she's
of
also a
mine, or I'll
comic,
see
so
a
that's
lot
a
of sets of
different-
hers. But like a lot of times, if we're working out new stuff, we're like, hey, don't come. Come when this is worked out. I don't want you to see me flesh out this shit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like it's not like a point of like she'll never stop me from going and training, but it's like she's not gonna be as invested in it or like I can't talk to her about running, like she doesn't care. It's like it's something that you do. I don't want to hear about it.
Do you find running for you is a solo, or do you have a community of other ultra runners that you communicate with, share notes with, or is it really like
On
your
social
thing?
media, yeah, I like running alone though. Like a lot of people will ask you, like, you want to run together, and like sometimes maybe if I want, but I don't like having a conversation when I run. I like being inside. But the ultra running community is amazing. It's the only other community I found that's like stand up, where it's just a bunch of
And you kind of
fucking
use it how you want.
freaks. Yeah, like these races, the events I love because it's just like the 55 miler I did. There was 80 people running, and like you show up, that's just 80 people in one area, one location, 80 people who decided that morning they wanted to go run 55 miles and suffer, and you suffer together. Even though, like, so there's parts of the race where I was probably running with guys for like 5 hours of the race, and you have good conversation, you get yourself through some pain, and then even the silent moment, just to be next to someone who's also suffering. That's why ultra runners are as tight as comics, because no one understands what we went through unless you went through it. Like, and it sounds sounds like cliche. Like it's like that military thing. No one knows what war's like unless they were in war together. That's kind of like people who suffer on a trail for 55 miles together. They're bonded forever. Because like you all went through some shit out there. Like everyone comes out that finish line. There's something else in their eyes.
Yeah.
That's what I like, and it's a cool group. A lot of funny people, a lot of funny ultra runners. You got a lot of addicts, like not even like shitting on them. Like a lot of people who are dealing like in recovery. It's good for them to get addicted to running. So it's an interesting community. I like it a lot, and it's cool for stand up because there's not many stand ups. Michelle Wolf did a few ultras at a point, but it's not like she's publicly out there as an ultra runner now. So like it's cool because it brings a new group into your stand up. It's like obviously not every runner is going to like me, but some runners who find out I'm a stand-up hear me on a running podcast. They come over and they're like, "Oh, this guy's a comic too." So
Yeah, but that's
cool.
how I had an interest in meeting you, and I just kind of bumped into you the other night, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And I feel like I knew so much about you
It's
because
funny because we had never met for years.
we never met for years, and we might have crossed paths.
Yeah.
Who knows? But Derek Drescher brought you up, and
I
Emma.
love Derek.
Yeah, and they
yeah.
had
Emma
nothing-
loves Goggins too.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. What was You Can't Hurt Me was the name of the book.
You Can't Hurt Me. Great audiobook.
Fuck, man.
Best audio. I've read the actual book, but the audiobook is better. My buddy Adam Skolnick was the ghostwriter of it.
Oh, very
wrote
cool.
the book, and then on the audiobook, Adam reads the book, and then every chapter, Goggins sits down and they do a podcast. It's the best audiobook. You'll run through a wall. You'll be ready to do shit. Dude, listen to that book had me like having conversations with my girl where I'm like, listen, would you leave me if I go to Navy SEAL training? Like that's how much the book amps you up. You're just like, I want to be a SEAL. Fuck comedy. I'm going to be a SEAL for 4 years. And she's like, no, I'd leave you immediately. I'm like, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, there's a lot of truths you find with pushing yourself like that, and then it becomes, this knowledge that you gain from yourself. You don't want to stop. Like you want to keep on pushing.
There's actual knowledge. That's what I say about Goggins. Like you listen to that guy talk. Like there's a lot of roughness around his edges, but he's probably close to being an enlightened human being. I'm a big like mushroom dude, so I love talking enlightenment. He's probably close through pain.
Oh, no doubt he's enlightened.
Some of the things he talks about and the way he talks about life and anxiety and dealing with things, I'm like, oh, this is an enlightened kind of stoic type of person who's reached the pinnacle of like knowing how to get your mind through some things just by volunteering to do something you don't want to do. That's what he does. He just does things he doesn't want to do, and it makes him this incredibly sharp person. And then you have a guy like that who exists, and most of society doesn't know who he is, and we continue to be scared of things we don't want to do. It's like the answer is right in front of us for everything, and no one realizes
it's a lot of mundane things that we allow to stifle us.
And it's a lot of mundane things that get you to unstifle. That's the problem, because monotony is what takes you to get out of this. Like you have to become addicted to something you don't like, which sucks.
Right.
It's weird. It's weird, but it's like
and it's simple things too, like simple practices. I mean, we could go on all day talking about this, but something as simple as waking up in the morning and not using the fucking snooze button, that's the worst.
Yeah.
A snooze button is the fucking worst. You wake up, get the fuck up. That's a little bit of suffering right there. Like getting up and it's cold and you're tired. You got you're like, oh, that first 2 minutes suck. But you know what sucks more? Starting your day off with a snooze, dun, 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 5 minutes, dun, 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 5 minutes, dun, dun, and then you wake up and now you're in a rush.
The first
Your
thing you do is
anxiety.
you grab your phone, and that's the worst because now
It's
you're
just
immediately
waves of anxiety now.
Yeah, you wake up with a fresh head. You've been given, clemency to have a good day, and the first thing you do is grab your phone. And even without realizing it, you're bogging yourself down because now you're taking in other people's days immediately.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's negative shit.
Absolutely.
Or it's something celebration that doesn't belong to you. So in your own, mind, you're like internalizing this other people's thoughts when you have a clean slate.
I still fall into victim. I'll do it
Oh,
occasionally.
we all do.
But my best days are the days when the alarm is set. I don't hit any buttons. I get up, and even if it's just waking up at 7 to go stretch or write or meditate, just move.
You're so your mind is so impressionable. A great day for me is very similar. I'll wake up and stretch, maybe listen to some Sadhguru.
Yeah, Sadhguru.
10, yeah. And all I need is 10, 15 minutes of it. And I swear, the rest of the day is just manageable. I'm definitely more present.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if I get some reading done,
yeah.
I'm just on top. I'm more present with my clients, with my stand-up, with my relationships, my dialogue with people throughout the day.
Yeah, if I have a good meditation session on top of like running, I'll feel like I'll be so present in my sets that night. I'm like, oh, this crowd's gonna get the best version of me because I'm with them. I love meditating. Sadhguru is great.
Yeah.
He's done one of my favorite podcasts, the Rich Roll podcast. He's been on that a few times, I believe.
Oh, awesome! I'm gonna check that out. Because I want more of him, but I take him in little snippets.
Yeah.
I don't go too long because we get busy out the
Yo, I've gone all into it because I did mushrooms heavy in the pandemic, and now I'm just like, let's fucking go into this other side of life.
Have you read any of his books?
No, so like he's not my big guy. So like I have a few guys that I'm really big on. So like I obsess over that.
Give me a few who you would recommend.
I'm a huge Ram Dass guy. He's dead at this point, but like I consider him like one of my gurus. But then he had a guru, so a guy who's even more dead, Neem Karoli Baba Maharaji. That's my guy. So like I did mushrooms for one reason or another. That's what spoke to me, and it was like definitely something that presented itself. I wasn't even searching for it, and I jumped into that. And life's been so cool since then. Like since discover, because like I was forced into religion at a young age, like through Catholic school, and I always liked religion. Like when I went to college, I was a religious studies major, weirdly enough, but I liked the study of all of it. And then I did mushrooms, and I was like, I love God now. Like that's all it took. I did mushrooms, and I was like, everything is amazing. And like that was probably a year, and the mushrooms helped a lot with running. Like I feel like I'm able to tap into like, I'm not gonna lie, these long ultra marathons feel like a mushroom trip.
Interesting.
There was an article in the Times recently that some neurochemicists or whatever, the neurophysicists are trying to detail what we're actually tapping into these crazy long distance runners. And they're like, it's the same thing that psilocybin would release in like a mushroom trip. And I feel like I have deeper ones of that when I run now because I do mushrooms. It's such a, like I said, the answers are there. Run far and take mushrooms.
Do you think therapists are going to be given the liberty to to administer like mushrooms to people? I've heard that was
that would
the
be
talk.
amazing, man. I would. My therapist, I've seen her for years now.
It'd be one of those characters from fucking Mario Brothers. It's the mushroom head. Welcome.
Yeah, she just sits there with the mushroom head on.
What's the name? Tote?
No idea. I'm so bad with names and things.
It's one of those fucking. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Everyone knows the Mario mushroom.
Yeah. That'd be fucking adorable. Like you're on your Zoom
like
and then the
therapist,
mushroom.
She just had her office as a little mushroom. That'd be great. They should do that.
I like that.
Tea.
I like that idea of because they administer other drugs. Why not mushrooms? And in a doses that's appropriate.
I mean, I think if
I don't
we
know
got
anything
into
about it.
like the real side of why it's never been done, it's because it's actually a real fix. So like these meds probably aren't a completely real fix. They're something to keep you going for a while.
Yeah, there's a
keep
lot of
taking them.
money from different.
Dependency. Like you want, if you're on an anti-anxiety medicine, a lot of people stay on that forever. Whereas mushrooms, I mean, it's not like a be-all, end-all, but it can be. If you have one of those trips where it resets the mind, it could do more help than a lot of these other things. And then you're not relying on the medicine, so it's not making them money. But I'm sure when the government finds out how to make money on mushrooms, then it's game over. You're going to have mushrooms everywhere.
But of course.
I've been paid in stand-up sets in mushrooms. Those are my favorite sets.
You're like, I'm doing that gig.
Yeah, I'll take
and Woodstock. I'm going to those shows.
Oh, I love Woodstock. Don't even get me started.
Let me ask you, in closing, I want to ask, it wouldn't be the DBS, the Dirtbag Shit podcast, also lends itself to drugs, sobriety, drugs, beer, sobriety. I'm forgetting the acronym, what it lends itself to. But in this case, what's the most dirtbag shit that's happened during one of your ultra runs?
Oh, I shit in the woods in the last one.
You didn't shit yourself?
No, I didn't shit myself, but like I felt it coming on. But like I was like, nah, I could wait till the next aid station and maybe just bang one out there. And then the next aid station was 7 miles away. And that's like over an hour running with a full stomach. And then I tripped and landed right on my belly. And the second I stood up, I was like, game on. And I went into the woods and I shit. And then I was like, oh, I guess you use leaves. Not realizing leaves are like sandpaper, dude. I was bleeding from my ass for 3 days. I thought I was dying because that night I was in so much pain and I went to shit and just blood came out. And I was like, oh, my God, I ruined my insides. Then I was like, oh, no, I wiped with leaves. So that was pretty dirtbag.
There was probably a bear looking at you. Why you shitting on my couch, motherfucker?
And there's other runners coming. It's like you have to find and I just crouched down and just let one rip. It was kind of freeing because I'm like I'm stingy with my shits. I like a good location, and this one I was like, let's see what happens.
Yeah, that is.
I don't know if that's dirtbag. I mean, I guess it is. You leave your.
But it seems very. It seems very. what's the word I'm looking for? It seems fair. It's the fair thing to do. You're running fucking
like Bear
ultra.
Grylls.
Yeah, I love that dude.
I don't know much about him. I just know it's a good tag to use. I'm like, yeah, that's a bit.
Yeah, Bear Grylls is good. I don't know if I believe it all. I think, it's like, what's bullshit? Naked and Afraid.
Absolutely.
That is such bullshit. It's like one fucking dude with a soupy ass in the middle of the woods with a fucking leaf covering his little ass dick. And then it's like B-roll, an alligator. But you never see the fucking dangerous animals and the people in the same shot. It's such nonsense.
That's why I like the ultra running, because it's just people literally demolishing their bodies, and they do it pretty publicly or not. Like, some of them have a lot of spectators, some of them don't. There's this race called Big's Backyard Ultra where they run, it's a 4-mile loop. You run the loop every hour on the hour. So say you finish in 45 minutes, that means you have 15 minutes to rest. Most of them run in 50 minutes. You have a 10-minute rest period, and it's a last man standing. This last year, the dude Harvey Lewis won. I think he ran over 350 miles, 3 days straight.
God damn.
And they just keep going.
Goggins had a challenge like that every 4 hours.
4x4, 48, every 4 hours.
I was tempted to do it.
I think I might do it this year. I don't know.
Let me know if you do it.
It's the week of my next ultra, so I'm like, this wouldn't be smart for training.
Yeah.
But
But you crazy.
I want to do it one year. I mean, you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours, right? It's relatively easy.
It seems like it's
sleep
definitely
is fucked up. For 2
your
days.
sleep is fucked up, which I think is nice to shake it up a little bit.
Absolutely. So like I know we got to close, but like in preparation for the last race, like making myself uncomfortable was something I did. Like training that probably wasn't even recommended, but just fucking up my sleep schedule on purpose. Some nights going to bed wicked early, like 6, 7 at night, waking up really early, going to bed really late, waking up really early, like just changing it up, going out on runs without water. Just knowing I have a long run, not bringing any water, just knowing I have to suffer, going out without any food. I would just do all these crazy things to make myself uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's amazing what you're able to withstand, how you can handle it, how you show up, how you rise to the occasion.
It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I find your story to be super interesting and inspiring. And the next time I bring you, if I ever get to bring you up on stage, I'm like, this next guy is very inspirational. He is my mentor. I
want to be a stand-up motivational speaker. Those people make bank.
Are you serious or are you fucking around? You wouldn't want to do that. Or would you?
I do for the money.
Yeah.
I see, like, I've heard some people are like, yo, they get $50,000 to speak at these things. I'm like, that's more than I'll ever make in stand-up, so let me do this shit. But then you don't want to be the stand-up who's also a motivational guy. I feel like it discredits you as a comic. So it's hard.
Yeah, it's interesting how comedy lends itself to more, shit, why am I at loss of words today? More, now I don't want to say negative, but it's
I know what you're
more
trying.
Pessimistic.
Yeah.
More pessimistic view on things. So sometimes when you feel I feel really good, you don't necessarily feel like you're gonna be like
absolutely
at a place where it's like
another comic's gonna shit on you.
Good.
Like, look at this guy fucking trying to help people. What is he doing? Like, comics will get on you for that shit, man. Like, God forbid you're serious for a moment.
For real.
You can't be.
Yeah.
Always got to go back to a bit.
Yeah. You always got to go full circle. Like, hey, where's the funny over here, motherfucker?
Exactly. That's how I feel with the running. It's like, you never want to, I don't want to run to the point where I'm not funny anymore.
Yeah.
So you got to always try to keep finding the bits.
So what's more important to you? Is it stand-up or your peace of mind that you find running? Because I do feel like you love both equally as much. So
equally, yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough though, because like over the pandemic, the past few races, I've gotten so into the training and shit where I'm like, oh, I'm Dan the ultra runner. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be an ultra runner. And then I have that other voice where I'm like, you're a decent stand-up. You've been a stand-up in New York for a while. You're in the clubs. You work the clubs. Fucking focus on this, you asshole.
I don't think that compromises it though. I think that's in our head. But I don't think that compromises it. I think everything you're doing,
it all comes together.
Yeah, I think, and I know that.
Financially, it don't though. So like that's the thing.
So the more time you put into something
if I could live a life where it's just running and comedy, that's what makes the money. That's ideal. I mean, I wouldn't want to do anything else. If every day I just had to sleep, wake up, run, train, stretch, do bits, write, that's perfect. But I have, I have a day writing job, or it's like you still got to make ends meet.
At least it's a day writing job, and not working for Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut, what's up? Or are you? Did I hit it right in the head and you're like looking at me, how the fuck did you know?
I'm a freelance writer for Pizza Hut, yeah. I write all the bits for the Hut.
Yo, the way you looked at me, I was like, I think I got it right in the head. This is some
honestly,
great.
I heard that. I was like, maybe I'll go work at Pizza Hut. I don't know.
Dan, you're the fucking man. Is there a website? How can people check out like future shows or anything you want to share?
DanLamorte.com. Philly, December 18th at the Grape Room. Washington, D.C., January 28th, 29th at the D.C. Loft, and then somewhere in Canada.
Dope. I fuck with Canada. I like Canada.
Name. Although it's looking like you might not be able to get to Canada easily.
I know.
Anymore.
It looks like it's hard. But listen, I got those fake vaccine cards for sale. Holla at me. Dan, you're the man, brother. Thank you so much. Yo, I'm glad I asked the correct pronunciation of Dan's last name because I was all day long. I was like, oh, I got Dan Lamorte. But it's Dan Lamorte.
Yeah. Maybe my whole family's been wrong about it. That's how much of a pushover I'm. When someone's like, you sure it's not Lamorte? I'm like, maybe my whole family's got it wrong.
You know, I'm usually right.
Yeah, maybe you are.
So fuck around. I can be right.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Lamorte, Dan Lamorte, that is the DBS podcast. Make sure you subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. I don't need to tell you again. You know what it is. I appreciate you guys. Much love. Once again, Dan, I appreciate your time. Dope-ass
Thanks for having
story.
me.
Dope-ass guest. And we out of here. Peace. I mean, it's always going to be Dirtbag Shit podcast. The DBS podcast.